Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to Ryan Bridge Today. Great to have your company. It is Thursday, the 12th of February. On the show this hour, we're getting another COVID inquiry. Surprise everybody, this time into the impacts of the Reserve Bank printing of $55 billion during COVID and crashing the OCR. The findings will come out, wait for it, just before the election. Do we actually need this? Or is it political? Finance Minister Nicola Willis is on the show. Fresh questions this morning about Wellington councillors, including the Greens' Tamitha Paul, and funding for cycleways over fixing the pipes. This as the capital's residents' raw sewage continues getting dumped into the Cook Strait. And these remarkable pictures of a shiver of sharks feeding at a popular North Auckland beach are making you nervous, but you shouldn't be. The man who took them says we've got nothing to worry about. He's here with me just before 7:30. First, here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Hopes all details will come under scrutiny in the review into COVID monetary policy. The Finance Minister has announced the independent review of the Reserve Bank's actions during the pandemic. Nicola Willis says it will look at lessons we could learn to improve future responses before being released in September. Infometrics Chief Economist Brad Olson says he wants analysis of the $55 billion money printing program. He wants to know if a similar procedure would be followed in another global event or if more guardrails would be set up. Air New Zealand's wide-body cabin crews say they're still waiting on an offer that'll help them keep up with the cost of living as they down tools today and tomorrow. More than 40 flights have been cancelled, affecting almost 10,000 travellers flying long-haul internationally. This comes after 10 months of failed pay negotiations. ETU Union National Secretary Rachel McIntosh says low base pay is creating serious pressure at home for many workers, and she says this means people are sometimes turned down for mortgages, loans, and even miss rent payments. MB says it has no plans to regulate corded window blinds, despite a coroner's fervent pleas. Open Justice reports 3-year-old Tilly Canby was found hanging with the cord around her neck on New Year's Day 2023. She died that night. Coroner Bruce Hesketh's recommended mandatory standards in his findings today to protect children and ease the burden on parents. New Zealand homeowners are holding on to their properties for the longest period yet. A report by Cotality NZ reveals the median hold period for profitable resales at a record 10.1 years for the fourth quarter of last year. Resale profits have also stabilised, with 88% of homes selling for more than their purchase price. Stress seems to be stealing small business owners' productivity and sleep. Zero data shows nearly half of New Zealand's small business owners surveyed had considered giving up their business due to stress. It reveals stress costs business owners 5 hours on average of productive work every week, equating to around 30 working days lost per year. Zero Country manager Bridget Snelling says more than half report having had less sleep since starting their business.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Jamie Joseph claims Highlanders Super Rugby headquarters is the place where there's the least chatter about his possible future as All Blacks coach, as he tries to avoid distractions for tomorrow's opener against the Crusaders. Tottenham Hotspur have sacked manager Thomas Frank. The Premier League football club are 5 points above the relegation zone in 16th. A thriller in New Zealand's Group D at cricket's T20 World Cup, where South Africa have beaten Afghanistan, but needed a second super over to complete the feat in Ahmedabad.
Time is 3 minutes after 7. Malachi Subek, that poor wee boy, the brutal death is a disgrace to this country. Basically, he was tortured. And now we have these debates popping up in the last 24 hours. Should the minister front up for interviews? We've got another report out on this. Where is she? Karen Chor, herself a product of the foster care system, was criticised yesterday for attending a pre-planned lunch event to eat some lamb on Parliament's lawn. She should have, according to the RNZ story, presumably been inside answering questions about why more wasn't being done about this boy's murder, which you might recall was back in 2021. Calvin Davis, Labor, you may also recall, came in for a hammering from the media when he was minister. So I think we should be really clear from the outset here that neither Karen nor Calvin nor any politician is responsible for the deaths of babies. The fact that we have no culprit for the death of baby Roo in the hut is, you could say, a fault of the police. But ultimately, as with all of these cases, fault lies with those who did the killing and those who do the covering up. You know, the family members who won't speak to police, the partner who won't dob in the other half. They're the real culprits here. Yes, there are things we can learn, things that we can do, things that we can change. We can change the name of the agency. God, we've done that enough times. We can add a red flag system. We can appoint a children's commissioner, which we've done. But ultimately, has this made our country any safer for children? We apparently average around 10 or 11 kids killed by homicide each year in this country. Ask OT or SIFs before them. They'll tell you that the cases of abuse seem to be trending down, but they have a new thing called reports of concern, which are going up. We actually don't know for sure if it's getting better or worse because there is a data lag. I know, incredible that we have a data lag on such an important number like child homicides. But you'd have to say, on the whole, the picture's not exactly rosy today, and no amount of stalking MPs around Parliament is going to fix that. Any fix surely has to happen, or at least start, inside the home.
Herald Now weather.
Kia ora. High pressure holds on over the country today with a cloudy start for some. Sunshine eventually breaks through, but by the end of the day, this front approaches from the southwest, arriving overnight. Any low cloud or fog clears away by midday. In Invercargill, it's a very warm day for you at 28 degrees. Other warm spots include Alexandra and Wanaka. It's another murky morning with low cloud and fog, and some areas may take longer to clear away. Meanwhile, showers are possible inland this afternoon. It's a warm day all round, and a heat alert is in place for Upper Hutt. Light winds and sea breezes prevail, although northeasterlies pick up along the Wairarapa coast. A few showers hang around northern Tairawhiti Gisborne. Otherwise, it's fine breaks for most areas, but heavier showers are possible inland in the afternoon. Northland, Northern Auckland and Coromandel may see a few showers today, otherwise fine breaks elsewhere. But it will be humid and temperatures at night barely drop below 20 degrees. Brisk easterly winds can also be expected tonight.
Time now 6 minutes after 7. It is great to have your company. Story to watch today is to do with the sewage going into the Cook Strait and Wellington south coast. Because people are starting to ask questions, you see, about which councillors voted for what and when and how did that affect funding for the wastewater system. And one interesting thing, there was an article in the Post yesterday about this. An interesting little tidbit is from a meeting of the Long-Term Plan Committee in 2021 of the council. And Tamitha Paul, the now Green MP, then Green councillor, proposed they were going to give a bunch of money to cycleways. It was $200 million or about $120 million. And then she proposes, let's double it. Let's go for it. Have a listen.
What I will say is that this is the decade of investment, and this is the key thing that we will do in the next 10 years to do the most that we can to reduce our climate emissions. It will not be easy. We will need to take out hundreds of car parks. But I stood for council to make transformational, bold change.
So the troops have rallied, the cycleways are coming, the money is coming, here. However, there is a claim that at the same meeting, they boosted the money for the cycleways. They didn't fund the money that was recommended by council staff for wastewater. Now you can see the problem here, particularly when you look at Lyle Bay right now and what's floating around people's breakfast, basically, with the fish. Good morning, everybody. You know, not a great look. So is it true? That's the first question, and we're going to ask some councillors about that this morning. We've got one of them on the program. And is this going to be looked at by some sort of government inquiry, which we know is coming? Now, Tamitha Paul, for her part, we have asked her on the show. She has come out and said, look, it's making a mountain out of a molehill. She says, we also did funding for housing. We also did funding for other important infrastructure projects. And I guess the difference that people might say is a cycleway as important as a house or as, you know, flushing your number twos down the toilet? That would be the question. So we will put those questions to our guests this morning. We are first joined on this and the LNG terminal by Simon Watts, who's the Energy Minister, also local government. Minister, good morning.
Very good morning, Ryan.
Good to have you on the show. Hey, we'll come to the LNG in just a second, but have you guys landed on what type of review might happen into Wellington at this stage?
Look, got a correspondence from Mayor Little yesterday afternoon. My guys are working through that at pace. It's pretty clear that the situation that Wellingtonians are dealing with is completely unacceptable, and the information that you're seeing flow out again is just an indictment on prior leadership. The role that the Mayor and I and the Prime Minister have discussed is that we need real answers to the underlying problems around what caused this issue, and we need those fast. So I'll have more to say on that pretty quickly, but I'm just working through that in the next few days. There's a number of options I can do to help, and particularly I think what you're seeing is people are closing up and providing information. Well, we need answers to those questions, and I do have powers to be able to extract that information. When
you say people are closing up, are you talking about the Mayor telling one of the councillors not to talk about this particular vote?
I think one of the headlines in this paper this morning was around, lawyering up and we're not going to make any comment. That is nonsense. Wellingtonians deserve to be kept up to date with the status of that incident, and that's the point that I'm referring to, and I'll be having a discussion with the Mayor about, the fact that I'm seeing that as pretty unacceptable, and I think Wellingtonians would as well.
Totally. Who's saying that? Who's mentioning lawyering up?
The Wellington Water entity was quoted this morning, so we're going to be, looking into that pretty swiftly. It's really, really important, and I get this, that Wellingtonians are getting good information. This is an incident which is completely unacceptable, right? No one is happy about this, and we need good information flow. And my job as Minister of Local Government is to make sure local government, who are accountable for this problem, make sure that those answers are available to the public.
What powers do you have? Can you force them to, come before a committee tomorrow, if they're going to lawyer up and go to ground and not talk?
I have a variety of mechanisms. I can put a review team into the council which has powers to get information to answer the questions that the council or other entities might not be able to do. We can put facilitation or a facilitator in there. Those decisions, though, take longer to put into play and do require more time. I think the challenge here is we need answers to these questions as fast as possible, and so that's the balance that I'm working through at the moment with feedback from the Mayor.
There's obviously a back and forth, and we don't know the exact detail about what happened in this particular council meeting from 2021, but the general point that funding for cycleways, for example, is just as important as funding for housing or other core basics. If, in your mind, is that a core basic, or would something like wastewater come first?
I mean, you might have one person watching your show out of everyone else in the audience that thinks it is, Ryan, but I am definitely of the view that building cycleways over core infrastructure is not a priority. And you've seen the reality of that decision-making playing out, and sadly, Wellingtonians and our environment are paying the price for that. That's why we're doing what we're doing around local water done well. We're putting these entities in place, proper governance and people that understand water infrastructure operating these entities. It's an indictment. We all know where we have come from, but the reality is that the steps that I'm responsible for is how do we get this thing in a position where we're back on track and we're mitigating these issues happening again, and that's what is a major priority for me, and that's what we're already doing.
All right. When it comes to the LNG terminal in Taranaki, there's a story out this morning, and I just wonder whether you can confirm it, that you will be bypassing the fast track, going around, skipping the fast track to get this thing built.
Cabinet's made no decisions around the detail, but what the Prime Minister was really clear about, and I have been clear about, is New Zealand needs this capability as fast as practical to put downward pressure on power prices for households and businesses. And so we're not going to take years. We want to get this thing built, and if we need to take steps to make that happen faster, then we'll do that.
Which you'll have to, because the documents say you will need to, in order to get this thing built in time for winter next year or end of next year, you will need to bypass the fast track.
Yeah, and that's the information that we discussed and we're aware of. So, we'll do what is required in order to make this happen. Why? Because it'll lower power prices for Kiwi households and businesses. That's a priority, and we want that to come through as fast as practical. Really important to underpin the New Zealand economy.
And just finally on the tax levy, it's been a hell of a week for you. So, what is this? Only Thursday. How do you think the sales pitch has gone on this? Do you regret the way that it's gone a little bit?
Well, you're asking me, do I want to comment on the media's performance? No, I don't want to do that.
No, your performance. You hang on. One day you said it was a levy, the next day you said it wasn't. You haven't been stellar either.
No, the short answer is, Ryan, ultimately this is going to lower power prices for Kiwi households and businesses. The way it's funded is through a levy, and the electricity industry will fund that. We need this infrastructure. We had a massive issue in 2024. Everyone knows it. There's no other option on the table that will bring a solution within the 2-year period that we're putting on the table. And you're seeing, pretty significant feedback from industry saying this is sensible, good policy that gives us energy security and downward pressure on power prices. And that's what everyone needs. Yep, it gets bumpy in this job, but my role is to make tough decisions and to make them happen, and that's what I'll do.
All right, Minister, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being with me. Simon Watts, the Energy and Local Government Minister at 7:15. No regrets on the sales pitch by the sounds of it, but definitely a warning for Wellington Water this morning. If you dare try and lawyer up and clam up and shut up in public, then he will come in over the top and force you to speak. Quite strong language from him. Right, let's go to Fleur Fitzsimons, who is joining us from the PSA, National Secretary there. And Fleur, I'm going to talk to you about the work and income, MSD, security guards in just a second. But I want to ask first about, you would have no doubt been reading over the last 24 hours, the stuff about that council meeting and the catastrophe in Wellington. Were you at that meeting?
And I can clear up the record because there's a lot of mischief being made.
Good.
There was never once a vote by the Wellington City Council when I was on it that didn't accept every recommendation from Wellington Water about their funding and make sure that their funding was addressed. The problem is not only lack of funding built up over many years. Wellington Water was a disastrous organisation plagued with failure and contracted out the running of the Mile Point wastewater station to a French company. There are layers and layers of dysfunction within that organisation. They act more like a corporate brand than a public entity, and we're seeing that now play out here in Wellington.
So that reporting from that particular meeting, there was never a vote on how much to allocate, which option you would go with in terms of funding for wastewater.
I was a councillor, and I don't know that the vote was held at that meeting, but we never voted for anything less than Wellington Water sought. And that's been cleared up in the front page of the Don Post this morning in reporting by Tom Hunt, who has absolutely confirmed that. So there is a lot of mischief being made, and there are actually a lot of problems with Wellington Water. And we need to look very, very carefully about the role of contracting to a French company, because that's part of the reason. We need public entities running our wastewater system, not French companies.
And so when you were giving the money over to Wellington Water and then they were then contracting to the French company, did you think that was a good idea then?
And none of it's a good idea. And look, I'm doing soul searching. Could we have done more? What could we have done? I was very outspoken at the time. We forced a mayoral inquiry on Andy Foster. We made sure that there was community representation on it. But you could see Wellington Water was a dysfunctional organisation that was more interested in protecting itself as a brand than actually making sure it delivered properly. It is a deeply problematic organisation, and the whole kind of corporate model certainly hasn't helped Wellingtonians.
Okay. Would you say that cycleways are as important as wastewater?
Basic wastewater infrastructure is more important than anything else in terms of running the city, in terms of the City Council and its role.
I'm glad we agree on that. Right, let's talk about MSD and the security guards stationed at some WINZ offices. 20 jobs set to go at 20 offices in towns and regions next month. This comes 11 years after 2 people were shot dead at an Ashburton WINZ office. Fleur, just remind us about those cases and why this is important.
It's important that you do raise Ashburton, because that was a tragic event where lives were lost. And in response to that, MSD pled guilty to failures under health and safety legislation, that they hadn't done enough. And now they've set about on a quite comprehensive piece of work to make sure that officers are safer and to make sure that the design of officers is safer. And there's been significant investment into that. There's also been a situation where 3 security guards have been located within offices. Now, they're there for situations where clients kick off. And it does happen. People go to WIN's offices at the most stressful time in their lives. They often take their frustrations with life out on WIN staff. So those security guards play an absolutely critical role in keeping people safe and de-escalating situations. The reduction from 3 to 2 has not been handled well. There needed to be proper discussion with the people who work in those offices to understand when and how and why they rely on those guards. We need to listen to the workers on the front line and take their concerns into account before decisions were made. Unfortunately, MSD went the other way. They started with a decision and then under pressure have decided that they need to talk to the staff.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that we need them, but clearly we do. Fleur, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me. Fleur Fitzsimons, PSA National Secretary. Just to note, we did ask MSD to front on the program. They declined and gave no reason for doing so. We would love to hear from you this morning. Flick me an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. It is 20 after 7. Next, the science behind our Olympic athletes and how work in the lab is paying off in competition. We'll speak to High Performance Sport New Zealand next. Then after 7:30, we've got news with Neva. Garth is here with business, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
If we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then.
We done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of it?
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
22 minutes after 7. Alice Robinson is one of our best medal hopes at the Winter Olympics. The downhill skier has her first race tonight, but her journey to this year's event has been years in the making, of course, as it always is. But there's a special little trick this time round. Here to tell us about what's been done to give her a competitive edge is Simon Briscoe, High Performance Sport New Zealand Head of Innovation. Good morning, Simon. Good to have you at the studio.
Morning. Good to be here.
So what are we talking about here? A wind tunnel, and not Wellington, but an actual lab-grown wind tunnel. What are we talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So for this project, we had Alice, Corey and Adam in a wind tunnel at Auckland Uni here. That's a facility that we use quite often. And we're able to lean on some of the expertise that we have as well with some of the other sports, namely cycling in this case, to have a look at the aerodynamics of different positions for Alice.
We're just looking at some of the footage now, I think.
Yep.
So what exactly does it do? What does it tell you that you can't learn from going down the slopes?
So you can see Adam there on top of a force balance. So in essence, we can blow air past them in a very controlled manner and measure, very precisely what the drag numbers are. So in this particular project, we were looking at slight tweaks in position and looking for the differences that we can get that Alice can get in reduced drag as she's...
Right, so literally how low you're sitting into the skis, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and little tweaks like, shifting shoulders down or up and what that makes to the difference in the drag.
Is that something that up until now an athlete would have just naturally kind of felt and manoeuvred themselves and try and got the speed that way?
Yeah, but it's really hard to actually understand that without this information. So yeah, it kind of gives us a little peek behind the curtains that you can't really get at from. Yeah, there's no way you can measure that when you're on the ice.
No, other than just kind of in your brain, I guess. Doing
Yes.
your own little calcs,
Yes.
as athletes do. So how quick or how much of an advantage do you think? Do you know how much time you can shave off a run?
Well, it's really hard to estimate that. Because there's obviously her performance is hugely multifaceted. All we did here really was look at specifics. So we broke her a typical run down into sort of 3 positions, and then we looked at tweaks around each of those 3 positions.
Simon, are we as good at the technology stuff as the Americans, the Canadians, especially when it comes to winter events? Or are we lagging?
I certainly think that we, as a lot of sports, we kind of punch above our weight on that front. We don't have heaps of resource, but we've got enough that we can do what we need to, and look at the things that are going to make a difference.
And who's the scientist doing the work? Who do they work for, and who's funding them? Is it all from High Performance Sport New Zealand?
This project, was supported, from the funding from High Performance Sport. We used the tunnel at Auckland Uni, and we brought in some technical help on the aerodynamics front from one of the cycling NZ employees. Yeah.
And is it just a big fan?
in essence, yeah. Wind tunnel, like the clue's in the title, right?
So what do you go to the warehouse and get 10 big ones, or what do you have to actually build one?
No, it's like a warehouse basically at Auckland Uni that is full. It's a big loop. It's what they call a recirculating wind tunnel, so that you have the fans on one side, and it gets turned around and the air's smoothed and squeezed, and then it goes past the athlete or whatever you're measuring at the time.
Goodness me, how do you think Alice is going to go tonight?
Well, hopefully glamour. She's looking good, huh?
She is looking good, which will be some welcome relief after last time, right? I appreciate your time this morning, Simon. Thanks so much for coming in. Simon Briscoe, High Performance Sport New Zealand, talking us through the wind tunnel. Right, time is 27 after 7. A Northland photographer has captured some pretty spectacular footage of sharks swimming just offshore from a popular beach. Andy Bruce filmed the bronze whalers cruising along the Mangawhai Bar, which is a known hotspot for the species. Andy Bruce is from Elevated Media. He's a photographer, clearly also videographer, does a pretty good job by the looks of it, and he's joining us now. Andy, these are beautiful images.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty special, eh?
But also a bit scary.
No, well, it's all part of the local landscape here. We get all sorts up here, orcas and dolphins and a few sharks too. Yeah, pretty cool.
Tell us these particular shots. How did you capture them?
Well, I got it was Tuesday this week when the kids went back to school, and I just felt the urge to go down and check out the bar, because before Christmas, a friend of mine had alerted me that there were some sharks down there because he likes to dive with them and film them. And back then there was only about 3 or 4, but there was a huge bait ball of kahawai that was I think attracting them. But then I went back on Tuesday and with my drone, my trusty Mavic 3 Pro, And then, put it up, and there was, wow, at first I counted 20, 25, and then I went a bit higher, and there was 33 all up.
Wow.
So it was pretty special.
How big are these? How big are these guys? Sorry, you caught me staring at your footage. How big are they?
It's hard to get scale, but I'm probably around a metre. They come in, I was reading about it and learning from the comments that they come in inshore over summer to breed. So there was some smaller ones and some big mamas. But yeah, it was pretty special to see.
And, obviously being from the area, does it make you think twice about where you're going swimming or where your kids are going swimming or anything like that? Or do you just think, wow, that's beautiful? I mean, look at that. That's stunning. Do you just think, well, this is a beautiful part of nature and it was happening whether we saw it from an aerial drone or not?
Yeah, I just think we're seeing them more often now that we have the cameras up there, people like me. But I think I'd be quite keen to go in there and have a swim with them and film it just to show people that they're fine. And we have a group of ocean swimmers, and they go in like 4 times a week, and they're all still there. And I think they call one Felicity. They've named the resident one Felicity, and they see it most times. But yeah, it's all just part of nature, which we are too.
Yeah, that school of Kauai that we're seeing, that's incredible too, isn't it?
Yeah, I tell a few friends of that. I call it the fingerprint of life. It's pretty special. And that was, I think they're in that circular motion because there were sharks around. So it's kind of like a protective sort of ball.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah, it's just stunning to see.
Very cool. Andy, we will leave you there and to go for a swim. Happy swimming.
Cheers, Ryan.
Andy Bruce, who's from Elevated Media, a photographer with those beautiful shots for us this morning. Right, it is 7:30. Here's Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Hopes all details will come under scrutiny in the review into COVID monetary policy. The Finance Minister has announced the independent review of the Reserve Bank's actions during the pandemic. Nicola Willis says it will look at lessons we could learn to improve future responses before being released in September. Infometrics chief economist Brad Olson says he wants analysis of the $55 billion money printing program. He wants to know if a similar procedure would be followed in another global event or if more guardrails would be set up. Air New Zealand's wide-body cabin crews say they're still waiting on an offer that'll help them keep up with the cost of living as they down tools today and tomorrow. More than 40 flights have been cancelled, affecting almost 10,000 travellers flying long-haul internationally. This comes after 10 months of failed pay negotiations. ETU Union National Secretary Rachel McIntosh says low base pay is creating serious pressure at home for many workers, and she says this means people are sometimes turned down for mortgages, loans, and even miss rent payments. MB says it has no plans to regulate corded window blinds, despite a coroner's fervent pleas. Open Justice reports 3-year-old Tilly Canby was found hanging with the cord around her neck on New Year's Day 2023. She died that night. Coroner Bruce Hesketh's recommended mandatory standards in his findings today to protect children and ease the burden on parents. New Zealand homeowners are holding on to their properties for the longest period yet. A report by Cotality NZ reveals the median hold period for profitable resales at a record 10.1 years for the fourth quarter of last year. Resale profits have also stabilised, with 88% of homes selling for more than their purchase price. Stress seems to be stealing small business owners' productivity and sleep. Zero data shows nearly half of New Zealand's small business owners surveyed had considered giving up their business due to stress. It reveals stress costs business owners 5 hours on average of productive work every week, equating to around 30 working days lost per year. Zero Country manager Bridget Snelling says more than half report having had less sleep since starting their business.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Jamie Joseph claims Highlanders Super Rugby headquarters is the place where there's the least chatter about his possible future as All Blacks coach, as he tries to avoid distractions for tomorrow's opener against the Crusaders. Tottenham Hotspur have sacked manager Thomas Frank. The Premier League Football Club are 5 points above the relegation zone in 16th. A thriller in New Zealand's Group D at cricket's T20 World Cup, where South Africa have beaten Afghanistan, but needed a second super over to complete the feat in Ahmedabad.
27 away from 8, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says the entire country is in mourning. This is after a mass shooting in the remote western town of Tumbler Ridge. A shooter targeted a school in the remote mining town with 9 people gunned down in one of the deadliest attacks in the country's history.
On the advice of the Clerk of Delivery Council and Heritage Canada, I've asked that the flags in the Peace Tower here and across all government buildings be flown at half-mast for the next 7 days. We will get through this, we will learn from this, but right now it's a time to come together, as Canadians always do in these situations, these terrible situations, to support each other, to mourn together, to grow together.
Now, the shooting was spread across 2 locations, a school and a private home. Police at this stage have refused to identify the shooter, who was found dead from believed to be self-inflicted injuries. It is 25 away from 8.
Herald Now weather.
Kia ora. High pressure holds on over the country today with a cloudy start for some. Sunshine eventually breaks through, but by the end of the day, this front approaches from the southwest, arriving overnight. Any low cloud or fog clears away by midday. In Invercargill, it's a very warm day for you at 28 degrees. Other warm spots include Alexandra and Wanaka. It's another murky morning with low cloud and fog, and some areas may take longer to clear away. Meanwhile, showers are possible inland this afternoon. It's a warm day all round, and a heat alert is in place for Upper Hutt. Light winds and sea breezes prevail, although northeasterlies pick up along the Wairarapa coast. A few showers hang around northern Tairawhiti Gisborne. Otherwise, it's fine breaks for most areas, but heavier showers are possible inland in the afternoon. Northland, Northern Auckland and Coromandel may see a few showers today, otherwise fine breaks elsewhere. But it will be humid and temperatures at night barely drop below 20 degrees. Brisk easterly winds can also be expected tonight.
Time now to talk business, thanks to our partners Forsyth Barr. Westpac economists are tipping strong economic growth as the recovery picks up. What's behind this new forecast? Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, is with us this morning. Good morning, Garth.
Morning, Ryan.
I like the sound of this.
Oh, don't we all? But can we believe it? I guess this is the thing, right? So Westpac basically saying they are looking at jobs and investment. They say there's some high signs of optimism there. Basically, they're picking that the economy, when we finally get the print, I think in March, will have grown last year by 1.8, is what they're picking.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit ahead of what
it is.
And they're expecting 3.3 this year and 2.7 in 2027. Basically saying that it's well, actually that's a little bit in line, that 3.3, towards what we're sort of seeing from the RBNZ's nowcast projections. They're kind of like they do like a more live projection, real time of where things are going. So maybe not. And they're picking unemployment will drop 4.7 this year, 4.4 next year, which is about 2 quarters ahead of where the Reserve Bank was saying it would go back in November when we got the last kind of dump of information from them. We'll hear more, I think, will we hear more next week? I think we'll hear a rate cut anyway, or sorry, a decision to hold or whatever next week. But basically rising signs of real business confidence, and now really the key is who will actually start to invest and start hiring. But they're basically picking that there's a fair bit of scope for that.
Great.
Yeah, good news for homeowners too. Picking a 4% is their pick for growth for house prices this year, and 5% next year, which is well ahead of what ANZ I think we're picking.
Yes.
Basically saying extra GDP growth tends to lead to a situation.
But the
OCR,
they were saying, it was Westpac this morning or yesterday that was saying the OCR, they think they'll do 6 hikes next year to 4%.
Yeah, that's it. And
which
they're
I guess
basically
is
neutral rate of 3.75 they're picking, which is 150 basis points ahead of where we are now. So it's like you're good and you're bad, basically. You don't need the medicine anymore. I guess that's just around an idea that maybe when firms do go hiring, they will find maybe that there aren't the numbers of people there to hire, that will sort of hit capacity in the economy, run out of puff a bit quicker than we thought, and at that point some of those prices will get tricky. A lot of firms looking at how they can sort of rebuild margins and so on after the time that they've been through. So
they're all chomping at the bit to hike prices again, aren't they?
Jobs.
Now, yes, jobs in America. We had 2 delayed numbers. Now, are these numbers still affected by the shutdown, or are these
partial shutdown that they had, I think, like a week or two ago?
Oh, the little one.
Mucked it around a little bit, pushed it out a few days. Added 130,000 jobs in the US in January, which was about double what people were expecting, which gave equities markets there a bit of a whoops for a moment. Unemployment rate dropped to 4.3%, was supposed to be about 4.4%, but they've also sort of recast, as they always do, a lot of stuff. So basically they said that they did major revisions that reduced the number of jobs created last year to just 181,000, and that was the weakest year since 2020. Obviously it was a pandemic year, and less than half of what they'd previously reported, 584,000. So looking back, they suddenly realised things were worse than they thought. A lot of it was around government layoffs, that sort of Elon Musk chainsaw approach.
The Doge.
Brought in all his mates to try and grab control of all the data and whatnot.
But now they're cranking.
And that all just affects their impact for their outlook for inflation and interest rates there, of course. Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you about this LNG story because, talk of the town. And we're
listening very avidly to your chat with Simon Watts.
So
he was fired up.
They're going to just go round their own the fast track's not quick enough, so they're going to go round the fast track by the sounds of it.
Not quick enough to get it done before the election.
Locked
in so that it's
winter.
Hard to unravel. Yeah, no. It's all about the power crisis, isn't it? Yeah.
So what about, there is a warning this morning on gas prices.
All right, so this is obviously going to mean that you've got LNG being imported to the country. It becomes a potential source, I suppose, as our own gas supplies that we sort of drag out of the Kupe and other gas fields sort of drop off. And one of the unsuccessful bidders, by the look of it, Turkish company that's taken part in this, Kapower Ship, which is a shortening of a very, very long, complicated name that I'm going to try and do, basically said, look, this is going to expose your market to those higher LNG prices. It could, as some of those contracts, long-term contracts for gas sort of drop off, mean that you're lifting those prices. Why don't you look at our option? Effectively, they buy the LNG, they keep it on board a ship, and they run a massive generator. They will just sell you electricity, and then you're just dealing with electricity prices. We will take care of that part of the risk for you. I guess
that also sounds like it could be very expensive.
Well, yeah, I think it was hundreds of thousands of dollars a month when you need it, but I guess it's sort of, you're not having to necessarily build all of that infrastructure and lay in a course whereby you are locked into dragging in gas. I mean, some of the modelling that they've put out as well, this is that popped out yesterday, basically this is sort of taking the worst off a declining situation, and that's maybe the bigger story here, that even with this LNG proposal, as we get less and less gas available to run industry, we're getting a decline in GDP, and we're not really kind of addressing that.
Yeah,
that's a bigger problem.
Yeah,
it's like you've got businesses that are shutting down. Balance, which makes a lot of the urea for fertiliser and stuff that's mothballed some production last year. Methanex, that just seems to turn the taps off whenever there's a problem. These are big industries. They're just kind of going to shut up shop.
All right. Garth, thank you very much for that. Good to see you as always. Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, and we talk business every day with our partners Forsyth Bar. Next, we're heading to Northland.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Bar investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Bar. Investment advice.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning. Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, who's got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Time is 17 away from 8. A video showing King's Counsel Michael Reid being asked to leave a New Zealand First event at Auckland's Northern Club has been played before a judicial conduct panel. The footage was shown as part of ongoing hearings into Judge Emma Aitken's conduct on the same night, following allegations that she disrupted the function and called Winston Peters a liar. Party officials told the panel that Reid refused to leave, took photos of attendees and warned the staff that he would sue them. Take a look.
I'm just asking
I'm
you,
gonna listen.
This is a private function.
I understand that.
Yes.
I understand that. And I understand that, but don't touch me.
I'm not touching you. I did not touch you.
Because you will be sued for a lot of money.
I did not touch you.
Right, well, don't make sure you don't. And don't you touch me.
But they still
No
have
one
a
is
right
touching
to
you.
ask you to leave.
Yes, you can, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah, and
but I'm going to just be able to make a complaint to the club because I know a
Sure.
lot of the members.
Thank you. I will.
Just a moment.
Excuse
Just
me, sir. This is a private
I
function going on.
understand
You are part of different function. Can you follow me?
Hang on, you've got my phone.
Oh, I don't.
Well, it's not there. There we go. Hang on, excuse me. Right. So would you tell Winston from me, please, that I'm upset about being a New Zealand First supporter and on your mailing list?
I believe you can tell him later when you meet
You
him.
can send us an email.
You can send them an email, yes.
Well,
But this was not the correct thing, sir. You are part of a different function. You should be in that function. This is part
Can you be quiet?
Isn't that just exactly what you imagine the Northern Club would be like? Apparently you're not allowed, it's actually against the rules to film on your phone anywhere in the Northern Club, so all of them should be in trouble really for doing that. Now, returning to our story this morning, we spoke to Simon Watts about Wellington Water, and he mentioned this story. So Wellington Water calling in the lawyers as the sewage flow threatens their reputation, called in the lawyers, stopping the flow of information to the public. This is from the Post, while raw and smelly sewage continues to run freely. And this was referenced by the Minister, so I want to update you on it. As the 1 week anniversary of the catastrophe passes Wednesday, the under fire water utility refusing to answer key questions about this, including when the 1,800 metre long outfall pipe, you know, the one that goes out to the Cook Strait, currently pumping the stuff out, which somehow sent wastewater going in reverse, inundating the Moa Point plant, was last inspected pre-failure. They're not answering that question. And apparently they have lawyered up and are engaging lawyers due to the upcoming inquiry that the government has talked about. So what we heard this morning from the Minister was, how dare you, don't dare you, and if you try that on, I will come in over the top with powers to force you to reveal all. So quite an interesting, very strong language from him this morning. He's obviously quite brassed off about the whole thing, and rightly so. And this is the problem. When you have something goes wrong, you then have an inquiry or an inquiry pending, and they all clam up. And just crickets. You don't hear from them, and they don't answer your questions. I have to say, Pat Doherty, who's the boss of Wellington Water, within hours, the last Wednesday morning on this program, within hours of it all happening, was on here giving, I think, one of the most honest post-catastrophe interviews I think I've ever seen on TV in this country. He was very honest about exactly what he knew, when he knew it, all that sort of stuff. The problem now, I think, is that you get all the middle management come in, don't they? They come in and say, oh no, we shouldn't, we don't want to be overstepping the mark here, or what if it gets ahead of the inquiry, or we might cop it, they might cop it. They get involved, and then everyone clams up and shuts up, which is not the best thing, and makes you look worse than if you were honest in the first place, which I think, judged purely on my interactions with him here on this show, that was Pat's intention from the get-go. Time is 12 minutes away from 8. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll speak to the Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, about this COVID inquiry that will be released mere weeks before the election.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavor.
Ah, here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, done cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
Welcome back. It is 10 away from 8. I've just been told that Tamitha Paul, then Green councillor, now Green MP, who is at the centre of all of this kerfuffle this morning about did they go cycleways or did they go wastewater funding, that she has agreed to come on the program, so we'll speak to her shortly. Right now, Finance Minister Nicola Willis has announced a surprise inquiry into the Reserve Bank's actions during COVID-19, a time which saw the official cash rate cut to a record low 0.25% and about $55 billion printed and pumped into the economy. Nicola Willis joins us live. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
We already knew that. We already know the effect it had. We've had a Treasury report. We've had a Reserve Bank sort of sniff. Do we need more?
Absolutely. We've had a Treasury report on the fiscal response and the excessive spending that went on, but we've only had the Reserve Bank mark its own homework on the decisions it made. And since back in opposition, I've said, actually, we need a good, dispassionate, independent review by experts of international standing so that we can learn lessons about how the Reserve Bank could do better in future if we were hit with another major economic event. Because clearly, having inflation spike to 7.3%, stay out of band for 3 years, deliver a cost of living crisis, having house prices spike 30% in a year, having the country lose $10.8 billion on the bond markets through money printing, those are things we wouldn't want to repeat if we could possibly prevent it. The purpose of this review is to see how we could do better if this happened again.
Minister, I spoke to Claire Matthews from Massey this morning and she said, they're all pertinent questions and we should know the answers, but just take the political side out of the politics out of it and you could just delay reporting back till after the election. I mean, we all know it's going to be happening anyway. We'll all know about it. But is that fair? We don't want to further politicise what is a highly political issue.
Well, I have worked very hard to ensure that the reviewers are not political, that they are genuine technical experts, and I've relied on Treasury's advice about that, and I think we've got 2 very credible people doing it. They're not going to be issuing a very political report. I expect it will be very technical. But I also think it's right to have them report prior to the election, because I don't think we should be saying to New Zealanders, look, we're having a look, but you won't find out whether or not it was good or bad until after the election. So the timing will allow people to reflect and, frankly, for politicians to have their own position on it. And certainly our position is that mistakes were made in the economic response to COVID and that New Zealand would have to do better in future. If other parties disagree, it's up to them to convince New Zealanders that everything was done right.
What about that line? Did you see Hipkins yesterday say you're just, I mean, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but poking the COVID conspiracy theorists?
I mean, come on. Having a review of monetary policy to see if we printed too much money and that created economic harm, that is a very serious economic question. My sense is that Chris Hipkins never wants to talk about what happened last time he was in charge. We know that he won't front for the COVID inquiry. He's running scared from that. And he simply doesn't want any independent analysis of what went on, because it's something that when he talks about it, it reminds New Zealanders that this man has a track record, and it's not a very perfect one.
All right. Hey, with the Wellington water situation, are you having to, like, in terms of a government finance point of view, I know we've got local water done well coming in, the regional entities, etc. But are you having to take any advice on what happens if this happens in other places? How big is the risk here? How do we have to have some kind of fiscal envelope?
I haven't done that. The local government minister is taking charge of this matter. And at this point, he has confidence that Wellington City Council has the tools it needs to inquire to ensure that it can resolve these issues.
All right. I'm about to speak to Riley Kennedy from Business Desk. And I said to Riley, he's just sitting next to me, I said, Riley, what should I ask Nicola about? And he said, what brand of butter have you most recently bought?
Well, the truth is that my husband does the supermarket shopping, and per the cabinet manual, I'm not allowed to promote specific brands.
Oh, come
I know
on.
which brand I use, but if I promote the misuse
which brand is it?
I'm very pure about these things. I don't want to misuse my cabinet position to promote one brand over the other. But what I would say to New Zealanders is butter is something you should shop around on if you're worried about the price, which many people are, because actually the prices can vary considerably from one supermarket to another, from one brand to another. It is something some supermarkets put on promotion. So shop around, make the supermarkets compete for your dollars.
All right. Appreciate your time this morning, Minister. Thank you. That is Nicola Willis, Finance Minister. I never thought that I would have so much obfuscation on what brand of butter do you like. But there we go. Right, let's go to Riley now, who's been sitting here patiently, senior reporter at Business Desk. Riley, good morning.
Very good morning to you.
So we didn't get an answer, by the way, because I don't know whether you could hear that. She said it's against the cabinet manual.
We don't have a cabinet manual. So what's your favourite brand of butter?
I actually don't use it, to be honest with you. I don't. Well, one, yeah, I'm like Nicola. I don't do the shopping in my house, but also I'm not eating bread because it's got lots of carbs, and I'm told that that's not good for television. So
maybe I should stop eating bread then.
Well, what brand are you going with?
I'm a big fan of. I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to say because it might be advertising, but there's a certain brand in the South Island. On the west coast of the South Island.
Very
yes.
Good. Well, you can say it.
West Gold.
Yeah.
Very good.
Is that? Can you actually tell the difference?
I reckon you can, but it just comes in a small punnet.
Not
I did
big.
buy Anchor the other day.
Did you?
I've been home alone for 3 weeks, so I've been allowed to buy what I like.
Oh, right.
Including full cream milk.
Oh, full cream milk. Is that B that stops you having full cream milk?
Yes.
All right. What are we actually talking about this morning, Riley? That's a good point. Good
Lunar
question.
New Year.
Yes, right. So what's happening?
Yeah, well, so it is it's a massive period of consumption in China and all throughout Asia, and our exporters really gear up for it. It's sort of I suppose a barometer of the economy in that region. I was talking to the Alliance sales director who said the sales book had been full going into it a couple of weeks ago. But up there they have 9 days this year in China. They've extended it by 2 to sort of boost consumption because the Chinese economy, as we know, has been quite sluggish. But the idea is that you go out, basically like our Christmas, it's just an extended period. You go out and you gift and you have food, and so obviously all our exporters are like, yeah, please buy our product, why don't go and give your friend a bottle of Manuka honey from New Zealand.
Some West Gold butter.
West Gold butter, mainland butter, anything that comes out of New Zealand. Just buy it. But the Chinese government, they reckon there's going to be 9.5 billion trips across China. There was like 1.5 in the first week last week. So, I mean, we'd be lucky to have like 9,500 trips in New Zealand a day, but that just shows you the scale of China. It's massive. So our exporters are eagerly awaiting next week to see what consumption brings. And
how good we did.
Yeah.
When I lived there for a while, and it was the largest, they used to call it the largest mass migration of human beings on Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
The migrant workers going from the cities back to the countryside for the Chinese New Year.
It's massive, it's huge, and it's all throughout Asia too. It's not just China, but it's particularly big in China.
Now, the milk price, all eyes on, and we've had some movement on the forecast. You know, one of the banks, I think it was ANZ finally
950.
Yeah. So, what do we reckon? Are they about right now, as good as right as you can be?
If it was my guess, I'd say the Frontier are going to lift to 930. They probably won't want to go back to 950 because it's just come from there. Put it up to 930. And then sneak it up at the half year back to 950 if that's what I was thinking. But next week on Thursday, farmers have got a vote on the capital return from Mainland Group. So there could be just a sneaky little update prior to that vote next Thursday morning.
And we've got some results coming out next week.
Yes. So
A2?
A2 is on Monday. TNG's the week after. Convita's the week after. It's very exciting times for nerds like me and the agribusiness world.
Butter nerds.
Butter nerds, yes.
Always good to see you, Riley. Thank you. Riley Kennedy, Senior Reporter at Business Desk. You're watching Ryan Bridge today. It is 8 o'clock. Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to Ryan Bridge today, Thursday the 12th of February. Great to have your company. On the show this hour, new data out this morning shows we're holding on to our houses for longer than ever before. I wonder why. 10 years on average. We'll speak to an economist from Cotality on that shortly. Nicola Willis has thrown in a surprise COVID inquiry, this time into the impacts of the RBNZ printing of $55 billion and the low interest rates. Do we need it? The panel weighs in this morning. And it stood over the town for 40 years, and Gore wants a name for its famous brown trout statue. So, will it be Trixie? Or will it be Trevor? Or maybe Finn? Fascinating, I know. Ben Bell is the mayor. He's going to be with us in a few 10 minutes' time. First, here's Neva.
Herald Now News. Powered by Newstalk ZB.
Hopes all details will come under scrutiny in the review into COVID monetary policy. The Finance Minister has announced the independent review of the Reserve Bank's actions during the pandemic. Nicola Willis says it will look at lessons we could learn to improve future responses before being released in September. Infometrics chief economist Brad Olson says he wants analysis of the $55 billion money printing program. He wants to know if a similar procedure would be followed in another global event or if more guardrails would be set up. Air New Zealand's wide-body cabin crews say they're still waiting on an offer that'll help them keep up with the cost of living as they down tools today and tomorrow. More than 40 flights have been cancelled, affecting almost 10,000 travellers flying long-haul internationally. This comes after 10 months of failed pay negotiations. ETU Union National Secretary Rachel McIntosh says low base pay is creating serious pressure at home for many workers, and she says this means people are sometimes turned down for mortgages, loans, and even miss rent payments. MB says it has no plans to regulate corded window blinds, despite a coroner's fervent pleas. Open Justice reports 3-year-old Tilly Canby was found hanging with the cord around her neck on New Year's Day 2023. She died that night. Coroner Bruce Heskeths recommended mandatory standards in his findings today to protect children and ease the burden on parents. New Zealand homeowners are holding on to their properties for the longest period yet. A report by Cotality NZ reveals the median hold period for profitable resales at a record 10.1 years for the fourth quarter of last year. Resale profits have also stabilised, with 88% of homes selling for more than their purchase price. Stress seems to be stealing small business owners' productivity and sleep. Zero data shows nearly half of New Zealand's small business owners surveyed had considered giving up their business due to stress. It reveals stress costs business owners 5 hours on average of productive work every week, equating to around 30 working days lost per year. Zero Country manager Bridget Snelling says more than half report having had less sleep since starting their business.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Jamie Joseph claims Highlanders Super Rugby headquarters is the place where there's the least chatter about his possible future as All Blacks coach, as he tries to avoid distractions for tomorrow's opener against the Crusaders. Tottenham Hotspur have sacked manager Thomas Frank. The Premier League football club are 5 points above the relegation zone in 16th. A thriller in New Zealand's Group D at cricket's T20 World Cup, where South Africa have beaten Afghanistan, but needed a second super over to complete the feat in Ahmedabad.
Herald Now Weather.
Kia ora. High pressure holds on over the country today with a cloudy start for some. Sunshine eventually breaks through, but by the end of the day, this front approaches from the southwest, arriving overnight. Any low cloud or fog clears away by midday. In Invercargill, it's a very warm day for you at 28 degrees. Other warm spots include Alexandra and Wanaka. It's another murky morning with low cloud and fog, and some areas may take longer to clear away. Meanwhile, showers are possible inland this afternoon. It's a warm day all round, and a heat alert is in place for Upper Hutt. Light winds and sea breezes prevail, although northeasterlies pick up along the Wairarapa coast. A few showers hang around northern Tairawhiti Gisborne. Otherwise, it's fine breaks for most areas, but heavier showers are possible inland in the afternoon. Northland, Northern Auckland and Coromandel may see a few showers today. Otherwise, fine breaks elsewhere. But it will be humid, and temperatures at night barely drop below 20 degrees. Brisk easterly winds can also be expected tonight.
Homeowners are holding on to their properties for longer than ever before. According to Cotality's latest report, the average hold period for profitable resales has reached a record 10 years. Resale profits have also stabilised, ending 3 consecutive quarters of decline, suggesting the market may have found a floor. Kelvin Davidson, Chief Property Economist, is with us from Cotality this morning. Hey, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Good to see you as always. Hey, so, I mean, it makes sense. If you can't sell it for what you want to sell it or think it's worth, then you'll hold on to it for longer?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, in a market where property values are flat and some parts of the country are still rising a little bit, it's just going to take you longer to get that gain you might like. But also, deals are just taking a little bit longer too. So those hold periods are just stretching out a little bit. And big contrast between hold period for gains, which are about 10 years, and hold period for losses, which is sort of in that 3 to 4 year range. Pretty tough period over the past 3 to 4 years to have had to buy and sell in that short period of time, given property values have fallen.
And what about the percentage of us who are selling for more than we bought for versus, you know, a couple of years ago when it was almost 100%?
Yeah, that's right. If you go back to fourth quarter of 2021, it was something like 99.5% of resellers sold for a price higher than what they originally paid. So pretty easy in that hot market to sell for more than what you paid, even with a short hold period back then, actually. But yeah, roll forward now, that figure's down to 88%, so a lot lower than what it used to be. But it has stabilised in the past sort of 6 to 9 months, and I'd say when you look at it from the outside in, I mean, 88%, it's still quite high. It's still almost 9 in every 10 people do sell for a profit, and that's just reflecting that whole period. If you can hang on for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, very likely you'll see a gain.
And I guess that's the point, right? Do you hold on? I mean, it all comes down to you, whether you need to sell, you know, whether you've just got divorced, for example, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I mean, the people who have had to buy and sell in the past 3 to 4 years probably didn't intend to do that. There are some people who might have intended to do it, but generally it would have been due to a change in circumstances, loss of job, family situation, that sort of thing. So it's hardly ever going to be a nice thing. And unfortunately, in this weak market, those people are looking at losses. So yeah, there's always swings and roundabouts in the housing market, but look like things are stabilising now. We've seen house prices flatten off. It does depend on where you are in the country, but with interest rates down, economy recovering, we should see some sort of growth, I think, in the next 6 to 12 months.
Hey, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being with me, Kelvin. Kelvin Davidson, Chief Property Economist at Cotality. Time is 8 minutes after 8. Coming up next, we'll speak to the Greens MP and former Wellington councillor Tamitha Paul about the sewage, the raw sewage being dumped in the Cook Strait right now. Then our panel joins us live. Dave Latelli and Deborah Pete in to talk us through the big issues of the day. All ahead.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
We done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Vacant City Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
Welcome back. It is 11 minutes after 8. The race to get people back to the moon is heading up. China has carried out flight tests of a reusable rocket, a key step towards sending a crew to the moon by the end of the decade. The test featured a low-altitude demonstration of the rocket, plus a successful landing and liftoff test of the lunar lander. China wants to land a crew on the moon by 2030 in direct competition with NASA's Artemis program. Still don't really know what we're going to do up there. But also, with that, the NASA one that's going, it's meant to have lifted off over Waitangi weekend, being delayed by a month. That's only going around the moon. We're not actually landing back on the moon. Remember, we were last there in the 70s? Yeah, so it's been a while. And the reason we're not going back, as we've spoken about on this show before, is because we now have health and safety officers. So every time they go to do a lift-off, every time they go and do, try to get to the moon again, some health and safety clipboard warrior says no. Right, 12 minutes after 8. There's been fresh questions this morning about Wellington councillors and whether they were funding cycleways over fixing water pipes. We're going to speak to Tamitha Paul, who's the former Wellington City Councillor, now MP for the Greens in Wellington Central. She will join us, I'm told, right after this.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavor.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference, but 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
Welcome back. It's just gone 14 minutes after 8. Right. We're hoping to get to Tamworth Paul. Apparently there are issues there. We're hoping to get to Northland. Apparently there are issues there. We will bring you those as soon as we can and as soon as we get to them. In the meantime, bear with me, dear caller. We mentioned yesterday, Susan's here. Right, we're going to Susan Botting, who's in Northland for us. Susan, good morning.
Hi Ryan, how are you going?
Hello. There you are. Literally just sat down in Whangarei. It's good to have you back on the show, Susan. So what's going on up north?
Well, you think about jigsaw pieces, and that's what local government's kind of like really in New Zealand. There's many jigsaw pieces with extra overlays and all sorts of different creations. So up here in the north of New Zealand, there are 4 councils, and the government wants to restructure the hell out of local government. And so the 4 councils are thinking about how might we do this? And they have to get submissions to the government about this by February the 20th. Anyway, Kaipara District Council in the lower part of Northland, which has places including Mangawhai that many of the viewers will know, and you can see on the map there, it's proposing the idea put forward by a group of North Rodney people to combine Kaipara and North Rodney, which is 30% of the Auckland Super City footprint, into a new standalone unitary authority. So it wouldn't be Northland and it wouldn't be Auckland, it would be its own gig. So it's really interesting to look at that map because if you think about the Waitakaris, so the southern boundary of this area would reach from around about Murawai and then travel northeast up to Waiwera. So the Waiwera River would be the boundary. And then a lot of you would know, people would know the Johnson's Tunnel and there's State Highway 1 there with the Kaipara sign, and that's the beginning of Northland, a little bit north of Johnson's Tunnels. So under this new plan, Johnson's Tunnels would be in Auckland, but Puhoi would become part of this new unitary authority. Helensville would, they would join lots of other smaller service towns. And then places that are growth challenged like Mangawhai and Matakana would also be part of the gig. So it's kind of like creating a rural unitary authority with a coastal settlement vibe and some service towns, which is quite different from the more urban centric perspective of Auckland City's mantra, according to those that are wanting to do this. It's quite interesting.
What's the vibe? What do people think of it? Most Northlanders, are they like, oh, get away?
I think there's mixed vibes about this. I don't think the Mayor of Auckland's too happy about it. He's got a few thoughts about that as well. But I think in this world that we're in now, with the restructuring, which is the biggest restructuring of local government in New Zealand since 1989, which some viewers might be able to remember that year, I think that there's very mixed feelings. And what's interesting about this, there are 4 councils in Northland, and they're kind of doing a sort of an idea that they want to put forward. But in the meantime, there's other options been going to be sent to the government with Kaipara District Council's submission on this. All the submissions, as I said, they need to be into the government by the 20th of February. So the North Rodney guys say, we've got scale with no control, and Kaipara has control with no scale. because Kaipara is one of the smallest councils in New Zealand with 26,000 or maybe 27,000 people. And they want to grab sort of 50,000 people from North Rodney and the 30,000 from Kaipara and put that into a kind of a bite-sized chunk, more fitting for the future. In 1989, I think there were 9 councils in 2010 that were amalgamated to create the super city. And in 1989, before that, many small councils were amalgamated. The interesting thing about this proposal is that Auckland's set up under its own piece of legislation, and the government said, as part of this restructuring for New Zealand, Auckland is not part of this gig. So that hasn't stopped Kaipara District Council from still wanting to put their proposal forward. And the mayor of Auckland was once the mayor of the Far North, and he also has previously pushed for amalgamation in Northland. It didn't fly in those days, but he's pretty keen on the idea of streamlining and greater efficiency. So there's a lot of thinking to be done, because it's like, you might think councils don't matter much, but they do matter in terms of look at Wellington.
Well, do we need to look there? Unfortunately, we do, and we are going there now, Susan. I appreciate you coming on the show as always this morning. Susan Botting, our Northland local democracy reporter. So we are going to Wellington, where there are some fresh questions this morning about Wellington councillors and whether they were funding nice things like cycleways over fixing water pipes. We spoke to Fleur Fitzsimons this morning, who's a councillor who was at this 2021 meeting that everyone is talking about online. She says, yes, we doubled the funding. We put a whole bunch of money into cycleways, but we didn't not fund water as well. Tamitha Paul was a Wellington City councillor also at that meeting and is now MP for Wellington Central from the Greens and joins us live this morning. Tamitha, good morning.
Morning, Orion. How's it going?
Good, thank you. So, can we clear this up? We'll start with the cycleway situation. Did you push that amendment? Did you get extra funding for cycleways at that meeting in 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a vote at all on funding for water infrastructure for wastewater?
At that meeting?
Yeah.
What that meeting did is it affirmed the decisions we had already made around water, which was to give Wellington Water the maximum amount that they asked for that they could deliver. So yes, but it wasn't explicitly. If you were to go and look at the minutes of that meeting, you wouldn't see wastewater there, because it was, that's just how long-term plan processes work.
So did you give Wellington Water all the money that they asked for, or only all the money you thought that they could deliver? You made a judgment on how good they were at delivering it.
No, Ryan, actually, I didn't make that judgment. Our officers and Wellington Water made that judgment. So what they do is they give us a whole bunch of options for investment, different amounts of numbers. And what they said is option 3 is the highest amount that we can deliver. Option 4 is just an amount, the most extreme amount you could give. But there were real concerns that it could be delivered, and what Wellington Water were telling us at the time is that if you give us more than we can deliver in terms of fixing, maintaining and upgrading the pipes, it will go on things like comms. And I don't think anyone around that table was prepared to hike up the rates for a communications campaign.
So it becomes very crucial how much money you are throwing at organisations, right? And you don't want to be wasting any money.
Yeah,
so,
and the point should be, Brian,
so it's true.
The amount of money that Wellington Water has ever asked for since 2021, they have got it. They have never been rejected.
But they were in this case. You've just said that they did ask for more, but you gave them less because you didn't think that they could deliver it.
No, what happened was, and it was asked for an option to be prepared around the maximum amount that we could give them that could not be delivered. I want to emphasise that point. It says,
but that's a judgment, right? That's a judgment that
not be delivered.
Okay, but that's a judgment that the staff at council made that you then agree with by voting for that.
So you wanted us to hike the rates up for no point and take people's money that couldn't be delivered on what they expected it to be then?
Well, I think this comes to the point that the argument, which is less to do with this particular meeting, but generally. The rates were hiked up because of overall spending, not because of any one vote on wastewater, etc. The question is, and you've referenced when people have asked you about this, the spending on cycleways is like spending on any other infrastructure, like housing or like the library, for example. Do you see cycleways as important as wastewater fixing pipes?
That's acting as if that was a decision that was to be made. I think cycleways and transport infrastructure are important, yes. I think wastewater is also important, which is why we have given the most money of all councils, because this is the thing that's frustrating.
Yeah, but we don't have infinite money.
Finish, please, Ryan. I'm answering your question. If you look at the history of councils and how much they've given to Three Waters, there is no doubting or denying that the last two councils, bar this one who are yet to set their long-term plan, have increased the spend on wastewater dramatically compared to the past. So that's why I don't understand why there could be any frustration with those decisions.
Kudos to you. No doubt they need it. But the question remains, what's more important, flushing the toilet or riding a bike?
What's more important, the Central Library, sludge minimisation, all of the other hundreds of millions of dollars, the Candala pool? I think the question you should be asking, Ryan, as a responsible journalist, if you want to look at that council, is why did nobody put up an amendment on option 4, the maximum amount to increase Wellington water, including those people who are vocal now about that meeting? And the reason is because it can't be done, and it would have wasted ratepayers' money completely. So this argument of what's more important, cycleways or pipes, is just a stupid argument, because that's not the way that councils make decisions. Not any council around the country at all, period.
But they do. That is fundamentally what they do. They make decisions about priorities. You don't have infinite money. Unless you charge ratepayers like wounded bulls, you don't have infinite money, so you need to prioritise what you're spending money on. That's why I'm trying to ask the question, what is your list of, to get an idea of what is the list of priorities?
And you saw at that meeting what the list of priorities were. It was investment in sludge minimisation, which would relieve the pressure on our wastewater system. It was 446 million for 400 million for housing upgrades. It was the Central Library, which was 187 million. It was lots of different things. And when we made each of those decisions, and including cycleways, when we made each of those decisions, it wasn't a question of, is this thing taking away from another thing? It was, do we want to fund these things and can they be delivered? And the reason that cycleways are important is because, one, they make the roads wider and more accessible for buses, but also they protect people from being hit by cars. And that is important to me. And I know we probably have different views on that, but I was the climate change spokesperson at the time. So that was important for me to put that motion forward, which, by the way, was only rephasing money in the budget and was not adding a significant amount, because if you look at the original proposal by Andy Foster, it was relatively similar in terms of cycleway investment.
All right, Tamitha, I appreciate you coming on this morning, and I appreciate you giving us your view and your version of events. Thank you very much for doing so. Tamitha Paul, Wellington Central MP, 27 after 8. Panels here this morning. Dave Latelli, BBM Motivation founder, Deb Peed PR founder. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Should we start there, actually, in Wellington?
Gosh, I could feel your frustration. I couldn't hear it all, but I could feel your frustration.
Because the thing is, Tamitha's actually right. In that meeting, we were talking about a specific meeting that there's been a blog post done about. It's not like you say, I'm going to vote for parking and not parks or whatever. But you've only got so much money to work with as a council. So it is about prioritising, and you'll know this from business, what you put your money into.
Absolutely. It's about good governance, and it's about prioritisation. And, councils commission reports on their infrastructures, and they're not office decor. They need to act on those reports. And if they saw the reports about the state of the intergenerational water infrastructure, which is crumbling, and didn't act on it, that's not an engineering problem, that's a governance problem. And in the face of that, if they didn't allow enough funds, then that's a prioritisation problem. So they've got a lot of questions to answer. Water done well, water needs to be done well. We need to have safe and a reliable supply of water, and our wastewater needs to be removed without having punamis down the street. And if water is not done well, people will lose in elections. And so election times will come round and that's what will happen.
People will get judged.
Isn't it ironic that they're spending money on to try and save the environment, and it's caused this, you know? And I just think, I've gone into work closely with councils and with, through floods and all these different things. And Ryan, the councils and government in general, it's so filled with a thing I call bureau crap that it actually stops anyone trying to do anything, get anything done. We're doing food passes with the council through COVID, right? So you give a food pass to a family, you might be a box of food and maybe a bag refrigerated. That's what you'd think, right? The council managed to turn giving food parcels into a massive, long-winded process with 6 different boxes. They could all fit in one, and a bag of refrigerated good. They're just really good at creating bureaucracy. And it's, Ron, I hate to say it, but you know what it is?
It's
a disgrace.
A disgrace and unacceptable.
Yep.
But the closer you get to it, it's just so frustrating because it's just common sense.
Exactly.
But common sense is the least sense used down there in Wellington and really any council around the country.
Yeah. Right, Ministry of Social Development is planning, and I think this is really sad that we have to have them, but you'll remember Ashburton, the MSD office, and what happened there years ago. But the fact that they need to have security guards at any office, I mean, it's like...
Have you been to an office?
Yes.
Have these people making these decisions actually been on the front line and seen what their people have to face?
It's pretty rude. I mean, that's putting it nicely.
Yeah. They are grim places. They're filled with people who come in who are vulnerable. A lot of them are unhoused. A lot of them have addiction problems. They have mental health problems. They are not nice places to be in. And, basic instinct tells you here that this is not a nice decision. Security guards and protection is vital in those environments, and especially that people need to feel safe in their workplace. And there's a high-risk areas, we cannot allow the people to feel vulnerable.
Yeah, there's some places you don't cut, eh?
It's like... Why can't this government or any government look further down the line instead of just putting profits over people, understanding this is actually going to cause more issues down the line? It's like when they give 26 cents an individual for a food parcel. That's what they allocate throughout the whole of New Zealand, and do they not think that's going to create more need down the line? It's very short. It's really reckless thinking.
What's the 26 cents?
Cut.
Is that what you get per person?
Per person. That's what's allocated for it's out of the Auckland City Mission. There's 500,000 people that are in need of food parcel, food banks, and it equates to 26 cents is what the funding that's delivered a day per individual.
Yeah. Okay.
$12 a week, and that's going to just create more and more need down the line. It's so short that when.
Yeah, do you know what you could try and eat fish, and in Gore they have a big fish. Here's the segue. Clutching its
like that one, right?
So this is the big trout. Have we got a photo of it so we can show everybody? You'll know it if you've been to Gore. Can't miss the thing. But they're doing a renaming exercise or unnaming exercise, and trying to figure out a name for. There it is. Got any ideas?
I love this story. Well, like Splash Gordon comes to mind, or, the Right Honourable. Look, these things are delightful, aren't they? They really are sort of brand assets for these small towns, and, there's the obligatory photograph in front of them, and they certainly weren't conjured up by expensive marketing experts.
No.
They're very unique, and they very part of the culture and the DNA of small towns.
They were probably very cheap too.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, in Auckland, we could go drive past some of those $1 million stairways as our.
Auckland, I mean, we've got like the Sky Tower and the Harbour Bridge, but if we were going to do something, we should probably do New Zealand's biggest Pahutakawa tree and give New Zealand a permanent Christmas tree.
I think it's fun. It's fun, and we need more fun in this gloom world, right? We're trying to be less stressed, but geez, it's hard. It's just hard with this.
I know,
government.
that's why I brought the fish up. I was like,
I know what those lips would call a blowy or something.
There he is. Hootie. Let's call him Hootie. There we go. Let's see. 27 away from 9. That is Deb Peed, PPR founder, and Dave Latelli, BBM Motivation founder. Let's get to Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Hopes all details will come under scrutiny in the review into COVID monetary policy. The Finance Minister has announced the independent review of the Reserve Bank's actions during the pandemic. Nicola Willis says it will look at lessons we could learn to improve future responses before being released in September. Infometrics Chief Economist Brad Olson says he wants analysis of the $55 billion money printing program. He wants to know if a similar procedure would be followed in another global event or if more guardrails would be set up. Air New Zealand's wide-body cabin crews say they're still waiting on an offer that'll help them keep up with the cost of living as they down tools today and tomorrow. More than 40 flights have been cancelled, affecting almost 10,000 travellers flying long-haul internationally. This comes after 10 months of failed pay negotiations. ETU Union National Secretary Rachel McIntosh says low base pay is creating serious pressure at home for many workers, and she says this means people are sometimes turned down for mortgages, loans, and even miss rent payments. MB says it has no plans to regulate corded window blinds, despite a coroner's fervent pleas. Open Justice reports 3-year-old Tilly Canby was found hanging with the cord around her neck on New Year's Day 2023. She died that night. Coroner Bruce Heskeths recommended mandatory standards in his findings today to protect children and ease the burden on parents. New Zealand homeowners are holding on to their properties for the longest period yet. A report by Cotality NZ reveals the median hold period for profitable resales at a record 10.1 years for the fourth quarter of last year. Resale profits have also stabilised, with 88% of homes selling for more than their purchase price. Stress seems to be stealing small business owners' productivity and sleep. Zero data shows nearly half of New Zealand's small business owners surveyed had considered giving up their business due to stress. It reveals stress costs business owners 5 hours on average of productive work every week, equating to around 30 working days lost per year. Zero Country manager Bridget Snelling says more than half report having had less sleep since starting their business.
Herald Now Weather.
Kia ora. High pressure holds on over the country today with a cloudy start for some. Sunshine eventually breaks through, but by the end of the day, this front approaches from the southwest, arriving overnight. Any low cloud or fog clears away by midday. In Invercargill, it's a very warm day for you at 28 degrees. Other warm spots include Alexandra and Wanaka. It's another murky morning with low cloud and fog, and some areas may take longer to clear away. Meanwhile, showers are possible inland this afternoon. It's a warm day all round, and a heat alert is in place for Upper Hutt. Light winds and sea breezes prevail, although northeasterlies pick up along the Wairarapa coast. A few showers hang around northern Tairawhiti Gisborne. Otherwise, it's fine breaks for most areas, but heavier showers are possible inland in the afternoon. Northland, Northern Auckland and Coromandel may see a few showers today. Otherwise, fine breaks elsewhere. But it will be humid, and temperatures at night barely drop below 20 degrees. Brisk easterly winds can also be expected tonight.
23 minutes away from 9. Time now to talk property, thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. Buying a rundown fixer-upper was once seen as an affordable way onto the property ladder, or a savvy move for house flippers. But does that still hold true today? Adam Clark, hello guys. Adam Clark, mortgage advisor from Squirrel, is here with us this morning. Adam, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
So is it still, are people still doing this?
Yes, they are, but it's a whole lot harder than it was back in the day. You go back a few years and it was the quintessential first home buyer's dream. Buy a do-up, roll up your sleeves, add some value, and that was your kind of, you sell it for a profit, and that's your next step up the ladder. It's just simply not the same anymore. It's so much harder to get the finance you need to make that first purchase.
You basically buy the house and then hold on for dear life. You haven't got...
Pretty much at the moment, yeah. So many first home buyers, we're talking 10% deposit or less. They're really scraping as much together as they can. They're stretching their spending budgets. There's just not, there's not enough, cash left under the couch cushions to actually do the work they need to add genuine value.
If they do, once they do start picking stuff off, which is generally how you do it, that's what I've been doing. Where should you start? Like, what are the areas where you'll get most value or bang for your buck?
To be honest, it's very home specific. Where some of the kind of the easy wins, it's the paint, the carpets, all that kind of stuff. A little bit outside my kind of area of finance, but even adding spare bedrooms, knocking up non-structural walls, stuff like that, that can be a huge help for people.
How much, in terms of finance, how much do you spend before you consider it a sunk cost? I mean, do you advise people a certain percentage of the home's value, or do you look at market resale or potential growth in the market?
To be honest, we stay a little bit outside that space because it's a little bit more real estate kind of property expert kind of questions. But I mean, the issue that we see with most people is that they can't get the bank funding that they need to actually buy the property in the first place. Anything that looks really tired these days, if you're going with 10% deposit, the banks are so picky on what property that they will say yes to. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't only give you the money, they say yes or no to the property purchase. So you go there and go, look, this is going to be great. It's a tired home, it's brick and tile, it's pretty solid, it's a bit tired, so I can add some value. And the bank goes, no, we just don't think that's in a good enough state for you as a 10% deposit first home buyer. They do, they hold all the cards and hold all the power and often do say no.
So for first home buyers, what do you advise them? What do you tell them if they're wanting to get into this? This is the kind of the dream, the goal, how to get on the ladder, how to get ahead.
Yeah, I think in my eyes, I think an owner-occupied property, so buying your home, shouldn't generally, in my eyes anyway, shouldn't be treated as a pure investment strategy. At the end of the day, if you sell that home, you've got to buy another one. And if you're looking to go up the ladder, you're simply going to have to put that money into something else and add more to the budget, right? So it's more about finding something that is actually going to suit your lifestyle. What's the commute to work like? What kind of infrastructure is around you? What's the local schools like if you've got young kids? Those are the things that actually make your first home purchase work really well. If you can make some money off it, yeah, absolutely, that's an awesome bonus. But I think, gone are the days of these, year-on-year compounding 10% returns. It's our kind of parents' generation that made genuine money off property. I think, dare I say, that boat's probably sailed.
We're going to miss out. On that happy note, Adam, thank you. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Likewise, thanks so much.
It's Adam Clark, mortgage advisor at Squirrel. Time, that's thanks to our partners, GJ Gardner. Time is 19 minutes away from 9. What would you name this fish? Gore is voting on a name for its public trout statue. Should it be Trixie, Scout, Trevor, Gordon, Finn? Ben Bell, Mayor of Gore, is here with some ideas. Ben, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, so why are you doing this?
So funny story of how this all came up. So we had 660 visit, I think it was last year or the year before, and they made a joke about whether the mayor lives inside of the trouts. And after we were joking around for a bit with our local radio station, Hukanui FM, we kind of kicked around whether it actually had a name or not. And the idea went away for a while, and Hukanui came to us and said, oh, should we run a competition to see what we should actually name the trout? So that's how it's come about. It's picked up a lot of attention, and we're really excited to make the name official.
And what do you have any insight on the voting, how it's going, what names, and is there a multi-choice or is it just a free-for-all?
Yeah, it's multi-choice. So there's some on Hukanui FM's Facebook page, as well as it's obviously Southern Field Days down here at the moment. So at the Gore District Council tent, you can come down and vote. We've got little ping pong balls that you can put in the different names. Funnily enough, not my pick, but definitely the pick out there is Trevor is currently leading, Trevor the Trout. So yeah, very interesting results out there so far.
Yeah, there are. Good to give Hukanui FM a plug too, because it's a fantastic radio station. Ben, what is do people actually, do you think it's actually an attraction in town, or do you think it's something that just sort of happens to be there and people will, do you ever see tourists taking photos with it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a primary attraction in town. Lots of people stop and take photos of it. It's a must do when you come through Gore, even if you're only in just passing through. People stop, and there's usually almost always someone down there taking a photo. So it's we're pretty lucky to have it.
You know, Rakaya's salmon statue's bigger, eh?
Well, I don't know.
No, it is.
Is there official measurements? That's what I want to know.
Well, from this angle, yes. Are you going to do something like a naming ceremony?
Yeah, so we've got this festival called On the Fly, which is a celebration of our fly fishing culture and being the brown trout capital of the world. So that's on the 22nd of February. So we'll do the final results then, and then we might do a bit of a naming ceremony. Funnily enough, I believe Winston Peters was there for the original opening in 1989. So maybe we can convince him to come back for the naming. Who knows?
Well, only if you named it after him. I'm sure that would get him done. Hey, good to see you, Ben. Take care. Ben Bell,
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Mayor of Gore, with us this morning. We'll take a quick break and be back with business news from Garth.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning. Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, who's got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Welcome back. 14 minutes away from 9. A Northland photographer has captured some pretty spectacular footage of sharks swimming just metres offshore from a popular beach in Auckland. Andy Bruce filmed this. These are bronze whalers cruising along the Mangawhai Bar, which is a known hotspot for the species. I had Andy Bruce from Elevated Media on the program earlier. Started off by asking if it's scary seeing sharks so close to shore.
Oh, no. Well, it's all part of the local landscape here. We get all sorts up here, orcas and dolphins and a few sharks too. Yeah, pretty cool.
Tell us how these particular shots. How did you capture them?
Well, I got Tuesday this week when the kids went back to school, and I just felt the urge to go down and check out the bar because before Christmas, a friend of mine had alerted me that there were some sharks down there because he likes to dive with them and film them. And back then there was only about 3 or 4, but there was a huge bait ball of kahawai that was I think attracting them. But then I went back on Tuesday and with my drone, my trusty Mavic 3 Pro, and then put it up, and there was at first I counted 20, 25, and then I went a bit higher, and there was 33 all up.
Wow.
So it was pretty special.
How big are these? How big are these guys? Sorry, you caught me staring at your footage. How big are they?
It's hard to get scale, but I'm probably around a metre. They come in, I was reading about it and learning from the comments that they come in inshore over summer to breed. So there was some smaller ones and some big mamas. But yeah, it was pretty special to see.
And, you know, obviously being from the area, does it make you think twice about where you're going swimming or where your kids are going swimming or anything like that? Or do you just think, well, that's beautiful? I mean, look at that. That's stunning. Do you just think, well, this is a beautiful part of nature and it was happening whether we saw it from an aerial drone or not?
Yeah, I just think we're seeing them more often now that we have the cameras up there, people like me. But I think I'd be quite keen to go in there and have a swim with them and film it just to show people that they're fine. And we have a group of ocean swimmers, and they go in like 4 times a week, and they're all still there. And I think they call one Felicity. They've named one, the resident one, Felicity, and they see it most times. But yeah, it's all just part of nature, which we are too.
Yeah, that school of Kawa that we're seeing, that's incredible too, isn't it?
Yeah, I tell a few friends of that. I call it the fingerprint of life. It's pretty special. And that was, I think they're in that circular motion because there were sharks around. So it's kind of like a protective sort of ball.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah, it's just stunning.
Right, it is just gone 11 minutes away from 9 o'clock. That was Andy Bruce, elevated media photographer, on the program earlier, talking about those beautiful shots from the Mangawhai Bar. We'll take a quick break and be back with Garth in just a moment.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Still can't get enough.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. Plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
Welcome back. It is 9 away from 9. Time to talk business, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Earnings season is underway from today on the NZX, and it started with some fizz. Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, is with us at the desk. Garth, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
We've got a record result for Skellerup.
Yeah, and they're an exporter, so that's kind of good to hear. They've just dropped their first half results ahead of a conference sort of later on today at about 10, and they're the first sort of big player, I suppose, in our market of the 34 that are going to report over the next couple of weeks on that. So revenue, I think, of 183 million, up 11% on the previous comparable period, but their net profit after tax, 28.9 million, a record result, up 20%. So basically they're just saying they've managed to have meet sort of done an excellent job in meeting increased demand. They're in dairy, they do wastewater stuff. Maybe we should get them down at Moore Point. They are in a lot of different markets there, and so they have just, their industrial division I think was up 12%, revenue up 6%. Just basically looking like they've made a really good go of it in the last 6 months.
Great.
And don't expect that to continue.
Right, well, because I was going to say, what about the tariffs? As they just sort of brushed them off?
Yeah, so far I guess they've sort of managed through and, as they say, controlled what you can control, but obviously that sort of uncertainty makes pushing things further forward a little bit difficult. But I think just looking at their, I think their full year net profit guidance is up to sort of 57 to 62 million. So they're hoping that the second half is going to be pretty good too.
Okay, good. And something we didn't get to earlier, TrueScreen. This is the cervical screening technology company.
Right, and it's a small cap stock on the market. It trades at sort of 1 or 2 cents kind of thing, little company, and its main market is China, and they develop basically a wand that emits light, sensors in there, check what the cell changes are doing, and that they say is a way of diagnosing cervical cancer. And basically yesterday they released a 4-year study of 15,000 patients across 60 Chinese hospitals that basically validated that as a better way of screening to some other methods, which has immediately opened up some pathways to funding from WHO and the Clinton Health Initiative and a bunch of other kind of people that support. They're basically aiming at technology like this to put it into the developing world rather. They've done a big deal with Uzbekistan, and they're saying this could be a way to deliver healthcare to women in those places at a very, very low price point, which when you consider US aid sort of cut a lot of the funding to that kind of stuff, which with dramatic and pretty disastrous impacts. This is a great story, I suppose, about a little Kiwi company that's come up with some technology now been validated, could go in there and make a real difference. Certainly did well for the share price. Yesterday on the market, it was the most traded on-market stock. I think about 4.2 million shares traded hands, just as people went nuts over this little small cap stock and bumped it up about 11%.
Okay, all right, good stuff, Garth. Good to see you as always. Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business. Thanks to our partners, Forsyth Bar. Time is 6 away from 9. Raw sewage has been flowing into Wellington's coastline since the Mile Point wastewater treatment plant flooded last week. We all know this. There will be some form of inquiry into what could have or should have been done. Earlier, Simon Watts, the Energy Minister, but also local government, was on the program, and I started off by asking what type of review do we know yet will happen into Wellington?
Look, got a correspondence from Mayor Little yesterday afternoon. My guys are working through that at pace. It's pretty clear that the situation that Wellingtonians are dealing with is completely unacceptable, and the information that you're seeing flow out again is just an indictment on prior leadership. The role that the Mayor and I and the Prime Minister have discussed is that we need real answers to the underlying problems around what caused this issue, and we need those fast. So I'll have more to say on that pretty quickly, but I'm just working through that in the next few days. There's a number of options I can do to help, and particularly I think what you're seeing is people are closing up and providing information. Well, we need answers to those questions, and I do have powers to be able to extract that information.
When you say people are closing up, are you talking about the Mayor telling one of the councillors not to talk about this particular vote?
I think one of the headlines in this paper this morning was around, lawyering up and we're not going to make any comment. That is nonsense. Wellingtonians deserve to be kept up to date with the status of that incident. And that's the point that I'm referring to, and I'll be having a discussion with the Mayor about the fact that I'm seeing that as pretty unacceptable, and I think Wellingtonians would as well.
Totally. Who's saying that? Who's mentioning lawyering up?
The Wellington Water entity was quoted this morning, so we're going to be looking into that pretty swiftly. It's really, really important, and I get this, that Wellingtonians are getting good information. This is an incident which is completely unacceptable, right? No one is happy about this, and we need good information flow. And my job as Minister of Local Government is to make sure local government, who are accountable for this problem, make sure that those answers are available to the public.
What powers do you have? Can you force them to, come before a committee tomorrow, if they're going to lawyer up and go to ground and not talk?
I have a variety of mechanisms. I can put a review team into the council which has powers to get information to answer the questions that the council or other entities might not be able to do. We can put facilitation or a facilitator in there. Those decisions, though, take longer to put into play and do require more time. I think the challenge here is we need answers to these questions as fast as possible. And so that's the balance that I'm working through at the moment with feedback from the Mayor.
There's obviously a back and forth, and we don't know the exact detail about what happened in this particular council meeting from 2021. But the general point that, funding for cycleways, for example, is just as important as funding for housing or other core basics. If, in your mind, is that a core basic, or would something like wastewater come first?
I mean, you might have one person watching your show out of everyone else in the audience that thinks it is, Ryan, but I am definitely of the view that building cycleways over core infrastructure is not a priority. And you've seen the reality of that decision making playing out, and sadly, Wellingtonians and our environment are paying the price for that. That's why we're doing what we're doing around local water done well. We're putting these entities in place. Proper governance and people that understand water infrastructure operating these entities. It's an indictment. We all know where we have come from, but the reality is that the steps that I'm responsible for is how do we get this thing in a position where we're back on track and we're mitigating these issues happening again, and that's what is a major priority for me, and that's what we're already doing.
That was earlier in the program this morning, Simon Watts, the Energy but also Local Government Minister, talking about Wellington and its woes. We also talked about LNG and the fact that they are going to, even the fast track's not fast enough for LNG, so they're going to have to skip around the fast track and basically just say it's happening, and hopefully it'll happen. For their sakes, they hope it'll happen by next winter. Right, that's it for us for today. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow from 7 o'clock. For more news in the meantime, head to nzherald.co.nz. A special thank you as always to our viewers on 3 Now, but also our regulars on YouTube and the Herald website. Have a great day, everyone. A quick thank you to our partners before we go. Forsyth Bar, Barkers, Max, GJ Gardner, from all the team here at Ryan Bridge today. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.